Welcome back, everybody, to the Sparkling Conservative. So, today I'm not going to react to a video or anything like that. Today is just my thoughts on a bill that's working through the Colorado House and will more than likely end up on Governor Polis's desk soon. Lots of in and outs with this one, but I mean, it's at risk of denying handicapped people their freedom. It's at risk of destroying individual privacy and rights when you're in a private vehicle. I mean, it's got a lot. And I mean, it's on its surface, it's small, but with just a tiny little bit of digging, like I mean, just take a little spoon and do a scoop, and you see all of the nasty that I'm about to cover. And I mean, like I said, I'm not joking when I said blind people and the elderly and workers in nursing homes and in Amazon and all these places could be without an option for reliable, affordable transportation if this bill passes. I'm not talking about anything green energy. I'm not talking about expanding the RTD busing train system in Colorado. Nope, nothing that simple. I am talking about Bill 251291, the ride sharing reform bill, whatever they want to call it, that has so many unintended consequences, all for next to no benefit, that Uber has actually said they will pull out of the state of Colorado if this gets passed. And I suspect they will. And that will have a negative impact on a lot of people. So, you know what? Like, subscribe. Let's dive into this one. And again, thanks for coming. I know this one's going to be a little bit different, a little dry. Tried to add a little humor as I could, but I think this one's a pretty serious one and really wanted to talk about it. Last little caveat, the last day of discussion and debate on this bill is today, May 7th, when I'm recording this. This video will be posted on May 8th. If there are any updates, I will either post an update video if it's large enough, or possibly a short, or I will edit this video and put an appended at the end. So if you suddenly see this video reappear in your feed as a new video, that's why. But again, really wanted to get this out there sooner than later so people could understand it better. So again, like, subscribe, and if what I'm about to talk about makes you mad and you're in the state of Colorado, look up your representatives, call them, tell them to vote no on this. If you don't want to call them, call Governor Polis's office or email. There are forms, there's ways to contact. So that said, let's dive right into this one, and I promise you it's going to be worth it. So this bill is kind of interesting, and again, I got to give a little backstory on this. So Colorado State Representative Jenny Wilford is the proposer and sponsor of this bill. And it's to, quote, enhance rideshare safety. And she, unfortunately, had a personal experience that spurred this. So this was back in February of 2024, and she was the alleged victim of an SA during a Lyft ride by a man impersonating a certified driver. So, again, there are laws against SA. There are also laws against impersonating a driver. But there's also animus on her. And I'm not victim blaming by any means. But if you've used Lyft, if you've used Uber, you as a passenger see enough details about the driver that you shouldn't just be getting to a random car. I mean, I know that's what Lyft and Uber is, but you look on your phone and it says John is going to be driving a blue Honda Accord, and John shows up in a Toyota Highlander that happens to be black. Probably not John. So, again, we don't know the full details about this case. I'm just reading what's aggregated, and again, not victim blaming, but be smart and look. So, according to her, she ordered a Lyft to return home after meeting some friends. The app indicated that her driver was named Shanu, Shanu, but the person who arrived did not match the profile. Again, why would you get in the car? I mean, just a thought. During the ride, the driver allegedly made inappropriate comments, and upon arrival near her home, physically her by preventing her from exiting the vehicle. She managed to escape and hid in a neighbor's backyard until it was safe for her to return home. Again, why would you get in the vehicle if it doesn't match? And I know Lyft shows the drivers a photo of the person who they're picking up, so I'd assume it shows a photo of the driver to the passenger, but it's been a while since I've used it as a passenger. So, of course, she sued Lyft, and a company, a shell company, it looks like, that was associated with this guy. Again, that's pretty common. Most drivers will use an LLC for protection purposes. The suit claimed that the shell company allowed unauthorized individuals to use its Lyft account, bypassing the background checks. The shell company admitted to giving a friend access to the account and suspecting that the driver involved was her friend's brother. So, okay, that's a valid thing. And there's a provision as a driver for Lyft and Uber already there, but I'll cover that in a little bit. And then this is where we dive into this bill. So, most people have not driven for Lyft or Uber. I personally actually do. So, I'm speaking from experience on this one, and it's pretty important experience because both platforms recently, like I've been driving for about 2 or 3 months before this bill got moving, and one of the big things they do is at random times it pops up and asks for a selfie, and it will not let you continue to drive, will not let you do anything till you take a selfie in their app, which then compares it against the photo, I'm assuming on your driver's license, or the verified photo when you signed up. So that's already in place. And it's a pain as a driver because it's random. You could be 5 rides in and it will just stop, make you pull over and get a photo before you can do your next ride. Or it could be 500 rides till you get it. So, okay, fine. I'm good with that. But that's already there. So she drafts this legislation and starts trying to push it through. And it's been revised some, thankfully, because originally it was going to be fingerprint-based background checks every 6 months for all drivers. A quick AI search returned that there are 30,000, give or take, drivers in the state of Colorado registered with Lyft and Uber. There's a lot of crossover in that, so we're just going to go with 30,000. So that's a lot of fingerprinting, and all the costs would be passed to Lyft and Uber. That has most recently been pulled out. It's now just a name-based background check every 6 months. Okay, kind of okay with that. They do it every year now. So, whatever. It doesn't impact you. The bill also covers account security for companies to implement measures preventing account sharing and driver impersonation. Just spoke about that. It's already there. Another biggie that this is where I start to, I guess, victim blame again. Food and beverage restrictions. It bans drivers from offering food or beverages to their passengers to prevent potential drugging. So, again, if you're concerned, don't take food from strangers. I mean, I thought our parents taught us that. I remember very distinctly, do not take food from strangers. But maybe I was just raised different than most people. So, okay, that's there. And again, that's not large enough to make Uber or Lyft say, yeah, let's pull out of the state of Colorado. So, the biggies are driver disqualification and something else. But let's cover driver disqualification. So, it prohibits individuals with convictions of certain crimes, most of which I can't say on YouTube, but let's just say harassment, kidnapping, menacing, DV, and SA are all disqualifications. They are now, by the way, probably. But again, menacing and harassment, those are very vague crimes. Again, I have in the process of applying for a concealed carry permit. And one of the big things they talk about is how menacing can be interpreted. My instructor was talking about if you're on a bus and you have your concealed item on your hip and you lift up to put something on the upper level and your shirt rides up and somebody can see that concealed object. That person could go after you for menacing because they were scared of it. Same thing could happen here. And in a later part of this, it talks about incident reporting that requires these companies to investigate for 72 hours. They have 72 hours to investigate and analyze and make a decision. So it puts all of it in kind of a guilty until proven category. So the original bill, you would be pulled not able to drive. So again, with that same example, if hypothetically I'm driving and I just keep my entire music playlist playing, which is 6,000 plus songs. Let's say a Tom McDonald song comes on, I don't catch it, but because it's conservative, it offends somebody up in Boulder, Colorado, where I drive a lot, and they say I'm menacing them. Okay, well, under the original version of this bill, up to 72 hours, can't drive while Uber and Lyft investigate. So that's a problem for people who this is their primary income. But that's going to change to at Lyft and Uber's discretion. Still not great. But how are they going to prove that? So this has been revised after pushback. Audio and video recording was going to be mandatory for all rides during the ride. So your phone, probably the driver's, would be recording audio and I'm assuming front-facing camera the entire time. So Lyft offers this features already. But this would mandate it. And where does that video live? Is it on your phone? Lyft claims it is. And they only upload it if you have an incident that they need access to. Okay, well, if I'm a predator, again, hypothetically here, I am not. If I'm a predator and I know that because Lyft told all of its drivers how this works, I commit this crime, I'm immediately going to wipe my phone. 10 wrong attempts, poof, that video's gone. Okay, so you can't store it on your phone. Is it then on the passenger's phone? So is the passenger going to be sitting there like this the whole drive, videotaping the driver? No, because the passenger's already doing this the entire drive and they're on their phone. So that's probably not going to work. So it's going to have to either be streaming live to Uber and Lyft servers where they'll keep it safe. But just like Ring, what's to protect that data? I mean, police come to Uber, they say, sure, here's the data. But me as a driver never knows they've released that. I mean, again, cloud anything bad. So there's that. Thankfully, that's been amended for now to an opt-in system, just like Lyft already does. But, again, huge privacy concerns. So, through all of that, again, Uber has come out and said that there's too much financial burden with this, and there's too many privacy concerns, and there's no clear safety benefit that this delivers to passengers. So they've basically said, yeah, we'll state that we will leave the state of Colorado if this passes. And that's where it stands today. So, again, there's been a few changes on this. So, again, the recording was changed to optional, and either the driver or passenger can opt in to audio and video recording. Again, never specifies how technologically that works. That's on the companies, which, if passed, they're required to have all of this technologically ready by January 1st of 2026. So, again, as of this recording, about 7 months. And December doesn't really count in tech time. So 6 months to develop all of that for massive amounts of data and to change background screen policies and to stand up new compliance. So it also changed the legal liability. So now it's just SA, kidnapping, personal injury, and so if you're involved in any of those, then yeah. So that said, they've kind of evolved it a little bit, but not great. And one of the big arguments with this that I've found is taxi drivers. Everyone says Uber and Lyft are a version of taxis. And all the arguments I found online have said the same thing. Well, I looked up what the taxi laws are. So taxi drivers are background screened with biometrics, so fingerprints, every 2 to 5 years, depending on their jurisdiction. Okay, well, they wanted 6 months biometrics. Well, that's a lot different from taxis. They also wanted the video and audio recording mandated. Well, it's not even required to be optional for taxis. So already this law is stricter than for taxis. So, okay, that's whatever. But it also still puts all the taxis, those companies can handle these types of complaints however they want. And again, if I was the victim of any of these, I'd probably just call the police and go through that full legal channel instead of telling Uber about this, unless it's a Jesse Smollett type allegation. But yeah, so that's where this one gets really interesting. Our governor, who I think is a moron, he's actually come out and said, hey, there are huge privacy concerns. There's legal conflict with this that violates potential federal and state laws that already exist, and it would be hard to implement. And again, the original with fingerprinting, I mean, there was a provision to allocate multiple millions of dollars. All while our state is in a budget deficit and trying to cut spending left and right to make up for their overspending. So yeah, let's just throw this at that. But whatever. So again, this is where I want to dive into those unintended consequences. And again, being a driver for these platforms, I see firsthand how these platforms impact people's lives. I've used them as a passenger 30 times. I've driven 600 plus trips. So I get that unique perspective, and they're missing everything. Like a lot of the debates I've seen say, oh, well, you could use taxis. If you're familiar with Colorado's geography, that's not going to work. You can get a taxi in Denver. You can get a taxi in Colorado Springs. You might be able to get a taxi in some ski areas depending on factors. But you're not going to get a taxi everywhere that you could need. Uber and Lyft, you can if somebody wants to be a driver. And with 30,000-ish drivers, I'm betting you if I'm in ski country, I can get a ride. If I'm in Durango, I can probably get a ride. Possibly a taxi, but I can get a Lyft or an Uber. So the whole, oh, well, taxis will solve this. No, they will not. If they could, Lyft and Uber wouldn't exist. Period. Taxis don't meet the modern need. So the unintended consequence with this is not the people going from the airport going to the airport, the most common type of taxi thought. These are the people who will be the Amazon worker at the warehouse who lives 3 miles away and takes an Uber or Lyft every day because they don't choose to use their car or own a car. Fun fact, the Amazon warehouses all have pick up and drop off huts for rideshare services because it's so common for their employees. It's going to be the blind woman. This was an actual case I had. I picked up a blind person at a grocery store, and she couldn't drive, obviously. Her husband was working. She can't not live her life. Uber and Lyft give her that ability to live independently. This bill destroys that. So, too bad for her. Another case I had recently was talking with an elderly woman who doesn't drive her car because her and her son and his wife all share their one vehicle to be financially responsible with a new baby. So she uses Lyft and Uber to go to her physical therapy, to go to her doctor's appointments. Well, that goes away. So then she has to get more cars or not go to the doctor, I guess. I don't know what those outcomes look like. But it's all of those unintended, unthought out consequences that would come from this bill that, again, these platforms already have enough of these protections to be okay. I mean, again, what happened to this senator or representative, sorry, is horrible. I'm not wishing that on anybody. But there's enough based on her stories. And again, I use AI for a lot of my notes because it aggregates everything. So, for example, I've got Colorado Public Radio, New York Post, Axios, and our local news media, all contributing to this, saying the part about the individual who arrived did not match the profile. Well, don't get in the car. Again, don't get in the car and don't be stupid. Like, come on. This is simple. Like, okay. And then again, we don't actually know what happened to physically her by preventing her from exiting the vehicle. Okay? My vehicle has weird door handles. Okay? I have offered a few times to reach back and grab the door handle to open it for somebody because I know where it is. Could it have been that? And she interpreted it as him blocking her from getting out? I doubt it. I do want to give her some benefit of the doubt, but there's no guarantee. So, again, I just really question her motives and the lack of seeing the consequences. So, personally, like I said, I might post an update to this. It might just be a short. I don't know, depending on what happens. Again, today's the last day of the session, but I wanted to get this recorded to get on the new posting schedule. To me, if this passes the Colorado Senate and the Colorado House, everybody who uses these services, and I'm encouraging my passengers to do this too, because I've been asked about this bill a few times, and I'm encouraging everybody to call the governor's office and just say, hey, I use these platforms. This is not okay. You cannot pass this law. And again, on the flip side of that, these platforms have these types of protections. As a driver on these, I wouldn't mind if every time I sign on, I have to do a selfie. I currently have to do that because I have 2 vehicles on the platform. I have to choose which vehicle I'm driving before I can go online. So have me choose my vehicle, take my selfie, and I'm good. And these platforms could also say the ban on food and drink, which is so minor, but again, don't be stupid. Don't accept food or drink from a stranger unless you want to. And again, probably not a smart idea anyway. I've had one driver offer it to me, and no, the nicest thing I'll accept from an Uber or Lyft is the charging port so I can charge my phone. Even that I'm kind of hesitant about because I know how data theft can happen. So, again, it's a tricky one, but not really, because you're not applying this to taxi companies. You're not applying it to taxi drivers who, in some states, I'm not 100% in Colorado, and it could be company by company. They're not employees. They're subcontractors, just like Uber and Lyft. So if the law is different here, well, then the law should be the same across all of them. And they're not. So, that's all I got on this one. So please like, subscribe, and I'll keep an eye on this, and we'll see what comes of it. But I definitely think that this is one that we need to watch because this has that personal background, and that will drive it. And the Colorado government, they're not going to care about the privacy. They're proving that with other laws, so I'm just praying that Polis does the right thing on this one, and everything I've seen leans towards it, but flooding his office with phone calls, not going to hurt anything. So, thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Like, subscribe, and we'll chat soon.